All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is January 26th, 2022. You're now watching Real Talk with Ronnie live on our Wednesday edition of our roundtable session. So we are back again this Wednesday. And, I'm very happy to bring you a very interesting episode this time. So typically on this show, we talk to political figures, we talk about politics. And, last week, actually a few days ago on Sunday, we spoke to Jim McGreevey, the 52nd governor of the state of New Jersey, Democratic governor. So, we've been branching out. We're talking to Republicans, to Democrats, to everybody, right? And now we're expanding our topic to the field of cryptocurrency. Now, for one, I don't really understand this field too much. The world of crypto, blockchain, Bitcoin, all this sounds very foreign to me, but I'm sure I'm not the only one. I'm sure there's a lot of people at home that don't know really what this field is. So today, to join us in this discussion, we're going to have a crypto convo. And to join us in this discussion, we have my good friend, Mike Reyes. Mike Reyes is currently the founder of Pernicoin. Okay. And we have Kyra Schaefer, the founder and CEO of 1111 Consulting. One of our other guests tonight, Kade Almendinger, who is a crypto consultant and owner of HODL Technologies LLC, unfortunately couldn't make it tonight because supposedly we fear he has a case of COVID. So we hope he gets well, gets better, and we hope to have him on next time. But tonight, we're very happy to bring you Mike and Kyra onto our show. So let me bring them on. Hello, Michael. Hello, Kyra.
Hello.
Hi. So thank you guys for joining me tonight on my show. It's an honor and pleasure to have you guys on. So, Mike, let's start with you, my good buddy Mike, who is by now a veteran of this show, right?
Yeah.
You've come on many times before, but in different capacities. Tonight, you're coming on as the founder of Pernicoin Network. Now, can
Yes.
you explain to us a little bit about what that is?
By the way, really good job on pronunciation. I've never told you this like over the phone, so that's really, really good. So
Okay, what for Pernicoin?
Yes,
Okay.
that's the correct pronunciation. People
Why?
pronounce it differently.
How do some people say it?
I don't know. They say Perna, or they just don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, they're just like, how do you read this?
Mhm.
It's fine. No, anyway, so basically what we're doing on Rhode Island, we were in Texas before, as you know. I would travel all over the country, and now back in Rhode Island, we're working in a public-private partnership with the state government, helping them develop a statewide healthcare database where we can keep everybody's blockchain records on. And on top of that, state citizens will have the ability to have 24/7 access to the records and monetize their records, unlike Facebook or Twitter, where they sell your data, but they don't give you any money for it. That's the general gist of it.
Okay. Let's move on to Kyra Schaefer. Kyra, this is your first time on Real Talk. Thank you for joining us.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, Kyra, thank you for coming on because I know that you're currently going through some personal, issues. But despite all that, you still, mustered up the strength and the will to come on. So thank you very much.
Of course. Thank you for having me and being on here. So
Sure.
I am the founder and CEO of 11 Consulting, which is a political consulting and fundraising company. So I work with clients all across the board in the GOP world and in, recently the cryptocurrency world. So I'm currently helping fund the American blockchain PAC out of DC, which is, a huge, which I mean, I should say it will be a huge PAC come the future, considering this is the way we're going with the blockchain crypto world, which, I'm sure Mike can definitely educate you on many levels about it because he still educates me on so much about it.
I want to
Still,
go
I
that
learn
far.
something literally every day from Mike. So I'm currently working with them and helping them get funds. They're hoping to realistically educate the Congress on the future of blockchain, crypto, and realistically how it works. What is it? Same thing that, everyone kind of is lost about what it is right now. And, people are being more educated as they move forward. But we're working with them and getting the word out there and to realistically be a huge advocate for the blockchain world come the future and the digital identities coming up, etc. So there's a huge movement, and I know the younger generation is very involved in it. So basically a little just about where I stand in the blockchain. I'm more of the political backing from it.
Okay, great. And I have a lot more questions about that later on because
I'm
as you
sure.
know, I'm also
I'm here. He's a technical guy, but we'll try our best to answer it.
Yeah, I was about to say.
because I'm running for office. I ran for office last year, and I think you mentioned that you use this crypto, this crypto and this blockchain to try to help raise money for candidates. So I'm very interested.
That is actually a new and up and coming thing, I guess you can say. A lot of new candidates. Well, I know candidates are trying, but I know specifically a lot of the PACs are accepting crypto and Ethereum and excuse my ignorance for all the terms because I'm still learning as well, as donations for the future and current too. So there's a lot evolving in that world, and I know the platforms are being established for it, etc. And we're trying to morph a lot of companies together to be a part of it, even though a lot of companies are already creating their own paths within the crypto blockchain world. There is a lot of moving and evolving with it.
Okay, great. Now let me pose this first question for Mike Reyes, since he is the expert here.
Oh, all right, I'll do that best. Kyra and I learn from each other, by the way.
When it comes to everything,
should say that.
So Mike, let me ask you a very elementary question, right?
Sure.
A rudimentary question. What the hell is blockchain? Like, what is crypto?
Okay, Kyra will have to help me out with this. So blockchain is a technology that's existed for maybe 20, 30 years, but the first successful use case is cryptocurrency. Basically, it's a technology that's almost basically unhackable. That it takes the NSA to hack one block in the blockchain, and the blockchain is reprogrammed every 3 minutes, I think, 3 to 4 minutes, and it takes 6 months for the NSA to do that. So it's basically unhackable. And on top of that, it's just really good for storing records and moving them from one place to another without a central entity involved. Basically, democratization of information in the sense that everybody has a stake in it and there's no central entity. So for a good example of that is cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, right? No central bank owns it. It's basically, we all mine it ourselves. It's the people's currency.
Okay. So then how is like Bitcoin and like I believe there's another one called Dogecoin, right?
Yeah, the joke coin, that's a meme coin.
Right. So which one is better, Bitcoin or Dogecoin? Or are they kind of like the same, but just like, different brands? It's like kind of like, Coke and Pepsi.
Kyra could probably elaborate more on this, but in my opinion, Bitcoin is the first successful use case. It's like McDonald's for, basically fast food chains, right? And then after McDonald's, in my opinion, I like Pizza Hut better. Dogecoin is like Pizza Hut. Dogecoin has, well, in all seriousness, like Dogecoin, because it's a newer currency, it's faster and it's more efficient. It wastes a lot less energy than Bitcoin does. So it's actually a better currency if you're speaking on technology.
Okay. Kyra, do you have anything to add to that?
I would, but not really. I've told to stay away from that argument, which one is better. So I'm more interested realistically in the NFT world. I find that world fascinating. So that's kind of where I've dove into.
Okay. Well, now that raises a bunch of more questions. What is NFT?
So an NFT is a non-fungible token. So basically you can own the rights to, Mike, you can correct me too if I'm wrong with this, definition, to a meme, you create an animation and you can sell it on a platform, which I cannot remember the name of right now. And people auction off this digital art. And people, even Melania Trump just created her own NFTs of the French hat that she wore. And they're selling it and buying these pieces of artwork that, look like very corrupted, animations for millions of dollars and then reselling them.
Okay.
It's a whole new platform too, which also the blockchain pack does accept as well.
Oh, really?
So,
that's good to know.
Yeah.
So like Dogecoin, Bitcoin, NFT, are these all under the same umbrella?
Correct.
Okay. Are there any others that are out there that we should know about?
I
Hundreds
mean,
of
Mike,
thousands.
yeah, there's tons. I mean, Mike, if you want to talk more about the digital identities, and you
Yeah,
can go on about that.
Yeah, so blockchain and cryptocurrency are very different. Cryptocurrency uses blockchain technology. What we're doing is we're using blockchain technology itself. Again, the first successful use case is cryptocurrency, but we're using it now for people's digital records. Like, for example, your records, my records, Kira's records, they can always be stored on the blockchain. And state governments can use this kind of technology. And it's just more fluid than using just like old records. For example, right now I'm working with dental offices to store their records on the blockchain. There was a dental office that I went to today that they are using a certain software system right now that's a little bit outdated. It's about 10 years old, but it doesn't have a cloud-based system, so they can't access it from outside of the office. So for them, blockchain is good because they can actually use blockchain to access it from anywhere possible, from inside the office, outside the office, just simple applications like that. And again, for records, you can access them like basically like when you go to Planet Fitness, you have a scanner code ID now, right? That's much more efficient because you can access that from your computer or from your cell phone anywhere you go versus a paper ID that you could lose.
Okay. So would it be safe to say that this concept blockchain, like the concept of blockchain is that it's like a way of storing your information?
Yes, a very safe way and a very efficient way of storing it too.
So it's an encrypted way of storing your information. And this encryption, as you were saying, it changes, right? Like every few minutes. So it's impossible to hack or?
It's almost basically impossible. You can't say it's impossible, but it's basically almost impossible to hack at the moment.
Okay. And when did this technology first come about? I think, Mike, you were saying that it's been out for like 20, 30 years now?
Yes. The concept of blockchain now has been out for a very long time. I think there was a thing called BitGold that was out in the 80s. And basically, they didn't have the systems in it because nobody had personalized computers. We didn't have smartphones. So the concept was out then. And then throughout the 90s, people were talking about how can we use this technology. And then when smartphone came about, like in 2005, 2006, when they started really getting the really good, like, flip phones and like the ones that you can actually text and actually send messages in, they realized in 2009, when they wrote the first Bitcoin white paper, that they can actually use this as a way of people sending money to each other without a third-party entity, without banks or the government being involved.
Okay, so like currently, like I have like an iCloud, right? And I think everyone who has an Apple product has an iCloud, right? So does the iCloud use this blockchain, or is it no?
Okay, so iCloud, that's the iPhone iCloud, right? They control that.
Okay.
Correct? Yes, blockchain technology, as we're speaking about it, is decentralized. So we all have a stake in it. The best way of explaining this is cryptocurrency mining. So Bitcoin, there's no central bank. Basically, just different miners around the world have mining equipment where they print the Bitcoin system themselves. And every time a new Bitcoin is printed, 51% of the systems in the world have to agree that it's an actual cryptocurrency, an actual Bitcoin. It's not fake. So that's how they're produced. Basically, just democratization of data or currency.
Now, how long does it take to mine a Bitcoin or like a cryptocurrency?
I wish Kade was here right now.
Yeah, I know.
My brother does mining in Rhode Island. He actually has a mining company on Facebook. Maybe in Rhode Island, it's legal to say this. Every state's different with their cryptocurrency laws. But yeah, he goes around the country and he helps people create mines. My understanding is that basically the mining system is a way to solve an algorithm. And every time the algorithm is solved correctly by a certain amount of computers, then this creates a new cryptocurrency. After that, like, Kyra, you want to add anything to that?
No, I mean, I'm more involved with the digital identity, part of it, if you think about it now, everyone's trying to create a digital passport, specifically a health passport with COVID and everything. So that's where the healthcare blockchain really comes into play, is that you can have your health records with you traveling internationally. I know I have good friends working out of Delaware and specifically in the Bahamas to create a health passport and make it, international, considering that's the way we're all moving towards right now. I know Mike's been working on something like that too. There's a lot happening with that. So taking your health records and putting them into one digital ID platform of, I, Kyra Schaefer, here are my allergies, here, my vaccination, you have it with you safe all the time. And you can give access to it. And that is definitely evolving into different sectors as well, as we've seen too. I know a lot of issues are with each state has a different set of rules and policies, and I know there's quite a bit of loopholes and problems with, is this ethical, being based with insurance? How do you incorporate that? There's a lot of still gaps that people are trying to figure out and move forward in, but right now, a lot of, Guy, I think Rhode Island, right? Am I right? Is allowed that? I don't know. I think
Rhode Island. So basically, Kyra and I had a meeting with the Tanner. I'm allowed to say this. Don't worry. I asked her.
I know. I'm sorry. I was like, shit, I had to backtrack real quick.
The director
I was like in my last.
Helping us out and advising us on what we're doing, and she said that Rhode Island has the best blockchain and cryptocurrency policy laws in the country. They actually themselves are building out a centralized ID platform using blockchain, and they need a third-party company to do it. Like, for example, when you build a highway, when the state government builds a highway, they contract a third-party company. They don't do it themselves, right? So they're doing that right now with cryptocurrency and blockchain databases for identity records. Just a basic level, identity, your name, birth certificate, death certificate when you die, property that you own. And then on top of that, what we're looking to do is we're trying to capitalize on that and also have at healthcare records as well. But the complication is in the fact that healthcare records are there's a lot of HIPAA compliance. So that's not so easy to do, but we're gonna have to work with the state government. We also have lawyers that we work with that are versed on HIPAA compliance. And yeah, it's just adding an extra part to what the state of Rhode Island's already doing right now at the moment.
Okay. So Kyra, in your particular field, you work with blockchains when it comes to the digital fingerprints and the the identity part of it, right?
Correct.
So let's say within the healthcare world, right, with COVID now, right? Everybody has like a digital passport. Well, this is like in theory, right? If everyone has a digital passport about their health records, their vaccination records, right? And then this record is then stored onto a healthcare blockchain that's created by a healthcare company, right? Now, this blockchain is then owned by
the thing is that it's not really created by a healthcare company. It's created by people such as Mike right there, people who focus on the coding, etc. And it's a third-party platform too that houses all the information, and that's what we're going back to say is we have like so many HIPAA laws and this and that we have to make sure we can secure that. That is really where a lot of the discrepancies, especially with all the talk right now, comes into play, specifically towards the passport, the digital passport per se. Right. The health ID is a little bit easier because you can base it off each state and their laws and kind of go from there and create it. Internationally, that's a total different conversation. And is it United States that creates their own? That's a whole other animal, to go into. But realistically, Mike and I focus on each state, and then you have the American Blockchain Pact that I'm working on, which is specifically funded to explain these things in further detail and help with the legislation moving forward at Congress to make things easier to progress within the blockchain cryptocurrency world.
Okay, so Kyra, you're currently in which state?
I'm currently in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Really?
So forgive me for being kind of dumb, but this is all very new to me, right? So I'm
still learning as I go, honestly. I have every time we talk.
I'm gonna break this down on a very simple level, right? So let's say we're just sticking to the state of Pennsylvania, right? So Kyra's in Pennsylvania, and let's say there's a health company in Pennsylvania. Let's call it health company ABC, right? So sure. ABC is a health company, and they want to, create a digital record of all their patients, right? So they use a third party to create this blockchain? Or how does that work?
I'm going to let Mike elaborate on this because he's the tech guy.
I'm not sure what the premise of the question is, but for example, our company, we're going to hire our own developers to do what we want to do. I'm wearing brown because Brown and you are helping us with an MVP in the state of Rhode Island, but We do it ourselves and we maintain it ourselves. We don't get it. The government gets a third party to do it. Mm-hmm. And that's why we're registered as a public benefit corporation, by the way, known as PBC. Okay, we're not a total, sorry, go ahead.
So you're trying to be that third party that the government will use?
Yes. And the reason why is because we're a public benefit corporation.
Okay.
We're a for-profit entity, but we have an actual interest in our actual customers and their happiness and the safety of their records first. That's our first priority. Then making money, the bottom line, is the second priority for us.
Okay. So there could, in theory, be many different blockchains run by many different third parties, right?
Well, of course, you have different, for almost anything in the world, you have competition, right? You don't have a monopoly in anything, right? Computers, you have Apple, you have Microsoft, you have Huawei, you have different systems in the world, right?
Right. So it's decentralized, but as we know, everything that is decentralized will at some point in time result in some sort of chaos, right? So I mean, there needs to be like a stabilizing structure or like an entity that oversees all this. No,
there doesn't have to be. So I explain this in two different ways. So again, Bitcoin, it's not total chaos. Again, 51% of the miners systems have to agree that a new cryptocurrency is paid and it's actually minted and it's actually official before people can use it for transactions. Second level of this is, it's going to be a little bit more technical. I think it's still 101, but I have to explain it this way. Have you ever heard of Gemini before?
I believe so. Yeah.
This is how I actually got get interested in cryptocurrency. Before I thought it was a scam. But in 2019, I was in the subway one time and I saw commercials for Gemini. And it was like every revolution needs rules. And what they did was that they began working with the state regulators in the federal government when they had their actual system for basically a stock market for cryptocurrency. When they made their system, they made it using the government standards, even though from somebody looking outside, cryptocurrency is very chaotic. It's not if you have the right people that you're working with. And that's specifically why, for what we're doing with blockchain and healthcare, we're using the same system that Gemini did. We're working with the state regulators instead of just doing it on our own. Many companies are doing this, but most companies are basically fully private companies. They only care about the bottom line, and you can't trust companies like that. Who's to say that Apple won't sell your healthcare records to China if they're going to make money? We see that Elon Musk, sorry to say this, but Elon Musk is building factories in Xinjiang province in China. Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of these companies aren't ethical. We want to actually bring ethics to what we're doing because we want people to trust us and we want people to know that they can sleep well at night knowing that we're going to protect their records and that we're going to give them ownership. We're just holding them as a custodian. But at the end of the day,
is there currently a regulatory body within the U.S. government that oversees the crypto, mining and all this and all this jazz?
Yes and no. Because it's so new, and even going back to your previous question, people who are uneducated in this world would think that there would be issues and no one kind of monitoring it, etc. And because it's moving at such a rapid rate, it is almost hard to monitor, and that's why there's a lot of media criticism about it. So they are trying to regulate certain things. But with the rapidness in which this is moving, it's almost difficult to, because listen, NFTs came across last year and stuff. Realistically, there's new idea with this new crypto world coming up and coming out to fruition each and every single day, that it's almost like, NFT world is blowing up right now. No one's really expecting it. So they're trying to create rules and barriers for these, people to abide by, because you have kids creating digital art at 18 and 19 and becoming millionaires and not wanting to go to school. It's a crazy thing. So to answer your question, yes, there is. Is it fluid and perfected yet? No.
Okay.
I think there's going to be rules added every single day, and I think that's why there are packs being created, such as the one that I'm helping out, because they see that there is a dire need for this.
Okay. I want to add something to that.
Sure.
Every state has different laws. We live in a federalist country, right? I was at the law school of Cardozo in New York City, and basically what they're doing in New York State, just the regulatory bodies there, they're like, oh, Bitcoin, that looks like a security. We're going to call it a security. Oh, Ethereum's, it's like gold. It's an asset. Basically they're just looking at things and seeing what it looks like in traditional finance and naming it, classifying it as that. But until we get a federal body to actually say, okay, we can classify that as a security, you're going to see financial companies actually being able to give their customers Bitcoin and offer them Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other cryptocurrencies. That still doesn't exist. But for blockchain specifically, like Kyra said, it's just the beginning. First it was cryptocurrency, now it's NFTs. Healthcare is the next logical evolution, but after that, the sky's the limit. You can use this for diamond mining, blood diamonds. You can use it to blockchain to trace where the diamonds come from, so you know that they're not blood diamonds. Steak, mad cow syndrome, right? Somebody gets sick off of steak, a piece of meat. You can use blockchain to trace the meat from where it came from, what farm it originated from. So this technology itself it's so many things that we can use it for. It's amazing.
Okay, now if there were a federal, a regulated body that would control all this or kind of oversee it, which branch would it be under? Would it be under the Treasury, the SEC, or what?
I think SEC, right? Because they're the ones that manage finance.
Yeah.
Cryptocurrency is like basically it's alternative financial product. It's currency.
Okay.
And that's why countries like China and the US at first they don't like cryptocurrency because they can't levy banks. Like if you have your own crypto wallet, your personal crypto wallet on your cell phone, and you see your money, they can't trace to who owns which wallets, crypto wallets, how much you own. Literally, I could be a billionaire, and Kyra could be a billionaire right now, and the U.S. government has no way of knowing that. So I'm not saying we are. I'm saying the U.S. government has no way of knowing that.
Be nice, but no, but that's also the flip side to this that a lot of people are concerned with, because you can't really monitor that and you don't know who's doing what with their crypto dollars, etc. So that's kind of the dangerous side of the platform, realistically, if you look into it, because there's a lot of bad money happening with that and transactions to say. So that's where, they're still figuring out, how to really watch it and monitor it on a regular basis. So there's a lot of discrepancies with everything, especially with this thing going so quickly.
Yeah, and I'm sure that the IRS would want to know more about it too, right?
They would love to,
especially for right now. Yeah,
they would love to know. There's a lot of people out there with a lot of money that don't know about it. I'm just saying this on the side note, but I have a friend who says he's going to get married and is to keep like 90% of his money in cryptocurrency wallets. So if he gets divorced, they can't divide assets that they don't know exist. So
why don't they just sign a prenup and call it a day?
Yeah, it's like basically, Well, you could do that too. I'm just saying this is, like you said, it's a different way of looking at the world as well.
Yeah.
So currently, the major financial institutions like the Goldman Sachs, the JP Morgans, the Morgan Stanleys, do they offer crypto as one of their products to their customers?
They legally can't, but JP Morgan and a couple of those banks, like basically 2018, Kyra can elaborate this hopefully, basically said that it's a scam. And then like a year later, they all started investing hundreds of millions of dollars in making their own coin, the JP Morgan coin, this other coin, which nobody uses, by the way, because these are centralized currencies. They're owned by a central, basically bank, which is big banks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So where do you guys see the future of crypto and all this? Let's start with Kyra. Like, where do you see this going?
I'm sad I didn't invest in it when it first came out.
You can invest now, though.
I know I can. I kind of, I was like you. I had no idea what it was until someone explained that, it was the currency of the internet, which kind of started, gave me a little bit of an understanding, but I didn't quite grasp it or really wanted to pay attention to it realistically. I think it's definitely booming. For me, I told you that I'm very interested in the NFTs and seeing where that goes. I think there's a lot. I think that world is, in itself, its own world and can expand. There's so much you can do with it. I even know the talks on the political side that are, how do we create memes of this and own the rights to this? How do we own someone's previous tweet and auction it off, on OpenSea? Thank you. That was the auction site that I couldn't remember earlier. I think it's growing and it's going to be the way of the future. And I think people need to start educating themselves on it a whole lot more.
Okay.
And I think, you have a lot of politicians who are going to be advocating for it. And that's exactly what they are going to base a lot of their campaigns on.
Okay. Mike, what about you?
Kyra and I are both also part of the Texas Blockchain Council, and again, we're doing a lot of work with Rhode Island. So it is the technology of the future. Senator Ted Cruz is a big proponent for it. Governor Abbott, now that he's up for re-election, I know we're not talking politics, but now he's up for re-election. He's passing a lot of pro-cryptocurrency and pro-blockchain policies. China kicked out basically every cryptocurrency and all the miners out of China. Guess where they went? Texas. I prefer them to come to Rhode Island, but at least it's a step in the right direction. And basically, one thing that I want to make a point of here is that, again, we think that, at least I think, based on what my conversations with Rhode Island, and again, I know Texas, which is a current blockchain cryptocurrency capital of the country, Rhode Island is the place to be if you're doing cryptocurrency or blockchain.
Okay. Now, given the fact that currently it's not really like monitored, right, and it's not regulated by the government in a central way, that opens it up to a lot of risk from maybe potential hackers, right?
Yes, for sure.
More specifically, though, you have to cryptocurrency itself you can't hack. What you can do, a little bit more technical. So I'll give you three different like cryptocurrency exchanges. There's Binance outside the US, there's Gemini, and there's Robinhood. When you buy cryptocurrency on Gemini, they take it off the internet and they have it in their own systems, so it's protected. When you buy it on Robinhood, they own it as well, so it's protected. When you buy it on Binance, you have to keep, if you leave it on the actual system, on the exchange, people can hack into it and take the currency. They can't hack the Bitcoin, for example, Bitcoin, they can't hack Bitcoin itself. What they can do is they can go into a system that's not very secure and they can take the currency from you. Does that make sense?
I think so, but okay, so let me ask you.
It's a little complicated, sorry.
Let's say I had like $100,000, right? And I wanted to turn that into Bitcoin. How would I do that?
Mike's your guy.
Okay, so you have a credit card or debit card?
Yeah, let's say in my debit card, in my savings account, let's say I have $100,000. And after this conversation with you guys, I'm like, oh my gosh, you know what? It seems like Bitcoin is like all the rage and it's going to be the future. So I want my stake in it too. So I want to turn the $100,000 that I have in my bank account into Bitcoin. How would I go about that?
The easiest way to do it, or like a little bit more advanced?
I'm on step one now. So let's
step one, the easiest way to do it.
Right, yeah.
Venmo. You get a credit card, Venmo credit card. You spend money. When they give you money back, they automatically convert it if you choose the option into Ethereum or Bitcoin. That's the easiest way to do it.
Okay.
A little bit more complicated, Cash App. You can just buy it on Cash App outright with a credit card or debit card.
So I go to Cash App, and I select the function or the option for buying Bitcoin, and it just converts my 100,000 into Bitcoins.
Yes, you go to Bitcoin, click, it converted to a Bitcoin or Ethereum, whatever currency you'd like.
Okay.
I almost thought it was a joke too, because I didn't believe it to be that easy when I first did it. I did it on Cash App and I was like, this is ridiculous, because I was just testing it out, but it is really that straightforward.
Now, what is the rate of exchange? What is the rate of exchange from like $1 to $1 Bitcoin? Like is it like 1-on-1 or how does that work?
No, it's very no. What you're talking about is stable coins. So stable coins, they're tied to the US dollar or some asset, to gold or whatever, and they never really fluctuates a lot.
Okay.
Like the stable coin USDT, I think is the main stable coin they use. That's always either $1 or 1.001 above, 1.00 below. It's always stable to the US dollar. Bitcoin, Ethereum, these other cryptocurrencies, they say that they're very volatile. I don't think they're volatile. I think the US dollar and fiat money is volatile because that's based on nothing.
So what is the current rate of exchange for one Bitcoin? Like how much does it cost to get one Bitcoin?
Right now it's 36,000, right? Unless it's changed. It changes like every 5 minutes.
$36,000 for one Bitcoin?
36,000, I believe it's right now at this moment.
Okay, so
with all-time high was 70,000, and it was.
He's like, I'm pulling out my phone right now.
Yeah, we'll have to pull up our phones.
So let's say I had $100,000. That can only get me like 3 Bitcoins.
Well, that can get you 60. If it's 37,000, yes, but also you don't have to buy a whole cryptocurrency. You can buy partial. You can, if you have $1,000, you want to invest in Bitcoin or Ethereum. Let's say you want to invest in Bitcoin, and it's one Bitcoin $36,000. You can only spend $5 on buying portions of cryptocurrencies. You don't have to buy a whole coin.
Okay. So when you say there's like a crypto billionaire, that guy really has a lot of money, right? Because
Tim Draper, yes, he has a lot of money.
Because if he has 1 billion bitcoins, I mean, doesn't that equate to like $1 trillion US?
Well, I don't know if somebody has a trillion that amount of money, but I know that there's the guy that invented Bitcoin, which we don't know if it's a real person or not. What was his name again? Can you remember his name?
Oh God, no.
Something
That's the wrong
Toshi or
person
something.
here.
It was like
Yeah.
it was some crazy Japanese name. Nobody knows if it's one person or it's like a group of people, but that person's the wealthiest crypto, like Bitcoin person in the world, and he's worth like maybe $5 or $6 billion. So it's not even that much in that sense, you know. I mean, it will be worth a lot more because the U.S. Currency, fiat currency, and all over the world is basically just going like this. So as it goes down, cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum will go up.
Okay, so from my understanding, crypto seems to me like a very, very volatile form of the stock market, right?
Yes.
Yes, completely. I was gonna say that.
But it's basically the same thing, to be honest with you, because the way the stock market works is the future value, whatever you predict the future value of a stock will be, right? The same thing with cryptocurrency. And the way it works, the system of how much are you willing to pay and how much am I willing to sell it for. The cryptocurrency exchange are basically the same idea as the stock market. The only difference being that the stock market has actual value because they actually, like, these companies actually sell products. Unless you're GameStop. GameStop is basically cryptocurrency right now. People just put money in and there's no actual product. But yes, generally speaking, it's basically the same kind of system.
Who invented Bitcoin? Like which company, which person, like which nationality, which country came up with the Bitcoin?
Again, we don't know. I don't know. We think it's somebody. When Bitcoin came about, they traced the person's, like the person that was I forgot his. I always forget his name. We might have to look it up later, just so the viewers know. The person who invented it. It was one person. Apparently, his sleeping patterns are consistent with Japan. Like, I guess that's the only thing we really know. That he
So
might
basically, for all we know, Bitcoin could have been invented by someone living in their parents' basement. It could have been Joe Biden, right? Because he's always in the basement.
Oh,
yeah. Let's talk about that.
We went there.
No, but I think that if anybody really wants to get into cryptocurrency and they have no idea about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, the one thing that you can do that's really simple today, go to Google, look up Bitcoin white paper. It's 9 pages. It explains beautifully what Bitcoin is, why it exists, and why it's needed. Because the white paper was actually written in 2008 or 9, and a year later, the first Bitcoin was mined. But again, that paper is only 9 pages long. You can read it like in 20 minutes, and you'll understand it really, really well.
Okay, now let's move away from Bitcoin for just a little second. Let's talk about blockchain. That's something that I can sort of comprehend better, right? So blockchain is, from what I understand, it's like it's kind of like the cloud, right? But it's encrypted.
I would say it's the technology that cryptocurrency uses. So if you understand cryptocurrency, you would use technology. But yes, it's like an encrypted. Yeah, it's like a cloud space that's encrypted. So it's
like a storage method, right?
It's a storage method. Basically, it's a storage method. That's what it is.
Yes, 100%.
Every Bitcoin has hash rates in it. That's what gives it value.
So blockchain is a storage method that is encrypted. That's very hard for people to hack into. One of my good friends, Billy Prempe, who's running for Congress here in CD9, he mentioned to me about how the government could possibly use blockchain technology and kind of use that when it comes to, like, voter IDs. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yes, voter ID, and also like national security records. NSA can use that. FBI can use that for any kind of records, any storage.
That is completely in the talks right now. All of that.
Okay. So that's something that I could more easily wrap my head around. Okay, so you use this storage method, and you put the voting records of people into that blockchain, and then it's secure, right? No one can come and steal it, and that way,
or alter it,
alter it. Yeah,
altering.
It prevents, like, voter fraud, right?
Yes, I mean that isn't. Oh my God, it's in a very large discussion right now. Yeah. There are a lot of issues with it, being that there are, large generation that is not very tech savvy and doesn't know any of this, or doesn't even understand. I mean, even people our age and in the industry or whatever are still educating themselves on the topic. So there's a lot of issues. We're trying to move it forward considering everything's moving into the, tech phase. But there are a lot of issues that they're figuring out within that. I know specifically towards the electoral and the new softwares coming out to be within the future to try to help calm down the percentages of the voter fraud. Yeah, I mean, that's happened in every election since then, is a huge topic of discussion right now. And I think come the next election, specifically in the next presidential election, there's going to be a lot of new software implemented and new voter ID, whether it be in a blockchain or different way on how to vote, it will be coming up.
Okay. Now, given that a lot of different sectors are using this blockchain technology right now to store the information of their patients or customers or, whatever, wouldn't this also be a good way for the government to sort of kind of like get all our info?
Yeah.
I mean, well, yeah, decentralized, yes. That's why it's better to have a third-party company that you can trust, like ours, Public Benefit Corporation, store it on behalf of the government.
No, but then couldn't the government contract with you to buy that information?
Sorry?
Couldn't the government just contract with this third party to kind of, rent that information or buy it or, whatever?
Okay, so what incentive do I have to give it to the government if I don't need to?
And it's not just our government, right? Couldn't other governments from other countries seek to?
Yeah, they could. And that's exactly why I don't think that it's a good idea for big companies to be trusted with this kind of information. Amazon, the only company that I really trust, and that's because we work in the same building, I have to, IBM, which is, by the way, the biggest blockchain company in the world.
Okay. So let's say that, Amazon, right? Let's say they also seek to make up their own blockchain, thing, right?
For what purpose, though? That's the question.
Right. And every single person that goes on Amazon.com and buys a product, their information is now stored onto the Amazon blockchain, right?
Yes.
Now, what's stopping Amazon, which is the biggest retailer right now, possibly in the world, right, from selling that information to maybe like average country of ours, a competitor like maybe Russia or China, and just selling it?
But what would that country use it for? I mean, there's just information people buy in products.
Who knows?
It's specifically healthcare. I think that's the main thing. That's the biggest. So if data is the new oil of this, this century, healthcare data is the most valuable. That's the data that everybody's after. Amazon's after this too. Facebook's after this. Google's after this. IBM, to a certain extent, is after this. They all want healthcare data specifically because it's the hardest to get because of HIPAA laws and the fact that there's no central databases right now.
Right.
So that's why there's an opening for companies that are smaller. And again, don't just look at the bottom line. They actually want to go about this ethically to actually break into the space.
Yeah, no, but it's a fair point that he's mentioning because it's a concern that everybody has, I mean, it's a concern that I have too.
Yes.
I mean, when you think about it, these huge companies already have an obscene amount of information on all of us already, So there's multiple ways to look at it. What Mike is really trying to reiterate is that there are good people that want to do this ethically and the right way and to make it easier,
Yeah, I mean, I just tend to think that blockchain is like this new, cooler way of storing all our information,
basically,
and packaging in a way that makes it more convenient
yes.
to give it off to or sell it off to like the government or to some other third party.
Well, but who? You look at these companies too, and you don't know what they've done with our information too at this point. So. True. There's a lot to be said, especially
now,
about
Kyra,
that.
In terms of blockchain and raising money for Canada, right? Is that like a big trend coming up? Is that like a big trend that's happening now?
Huge, actually.
Yeah.
I'm finding it more and more with each one of my clients.
So for a political candidate, what percentage of his or her donations is coming from blockchains or from crypto?
Not a large percentage right now, I will say, because it's still so new and ethically the clients are not allowed to take it. It will be in and of the future. The PACs, they are allowed to take it and accept it. But then again, it goes back to the platforms that allows them to accept it. The political clients, no. But what they're focusing on with their campaign is the rules and regulations per each state and what they want to advocate for.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, great. My head is kind of spinning. I think I understand this topic a little bit better now, but I still have a lot of question marks, right?
We all do, believe me.
Yeah,
but what was
it was here to be a lot smoother. You fill in the gaps for us.
Yeah, if he was here.
What was it particularly about this field that made you, Mike, that made you, Kyra, want to get into it? Is it just because it's like the new gold rush?
Mike,
or what?
Well, so what happened with me was, like, again, I thought it was a scam. Even though I just want to go back to your point about politicians. I worked for Jeff Curzon in 2013. He was the first congressman to accept cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. Well, Bitcoin at the time was only basically the main cryptocurrency. To accept Bitcoin in this campaign. Again, it's very complicated because the way they have to do it, Kyra's right. They have to like cash it out at the right price, and it has to be a third party that cashes out for you. It's really complicated. But what got me into the field was that it was 2019, and I was just sitting down one day and then in an office, and I was like, I want to invent a system that can help people pay for their medical records because Trump's in office, and health medical procedures and seeing a doctor because Trump was in office and he was getting rid of Obamacare. And then I went to an accelerator program at NYU, and I met a professor there, and I was like, listen, I have this idea. So he looked at my slides deck, 6 pages. He's like, listen, Mike, this is kind of a bad idea, but come to my office. Let's have a chat. Let's have some coffee. He sat me down. He's like, okay, Mike, listen, this is what you're going to do. In the US, there's no central databases for healthcare records in any state. You're going to go at a state-by-state basis, and you're going to found a public benefit corporation, go state to state, and you're going to work with the state governments and regulators on developing policies that are favorable for you holding databases for their state residents using the blockchain. And it just so happens that fast forward to 2021, a month ago, I came back to Rhode Island, and I met Kyra when I was in New York for the New York Young Republican Club Gala, whatever it is, what it is. Mm-hmm. And she met me at the right time, right before I started this accelerator program. And I met people in the government, and she's been in meetings with me like almost all the time. She's great. So we're talking to people in the government, and they're basically saying, listen, you guys don't have to, the policies that you guys need to pass, Rhode Island doesn't need to pass those policies. You guys can come here and do what you want to do here. Mm-hmm. And I was like, really? She's like, yeah, this is the best state in the country to do cryptocurrency and blockchain policy. Wyoming is more favorable for certain things, but generally speaking, with blockchain and holding digital databases for people's identities, Rhode Island's already have the idea to do it before we even came here. And they're like, well, we have similar goals. Just stay here and we'll do whatever we can. They were like, okay, we have homework for you. Go get some universities that can actually help you build an MVP so you can raise money with the state government. The state has lots of grants if universities will back you. Sent a cold email one day when I was watching football to Brown University. They got back to me like an hour later on Sunday night. I was like, all right. Same thing with URI. A week later, next thing you know, I'm having pizza with these guys, drinking beer. Quality professors too. And then they're like, yeah, okay, well, we'll get you a letter, but we can't do it ourselves. You have to talk to our technology department. That's where it got interesting. These guys are not so friendly.
Okay.
But but at the end of the day, you have to talk to them a lot. You have to convince them why. You have to sell a value proposition. Like, why? How does this benefit the university? How to benefit the university? Shared IP, new technology, shared patents. I can do that for you. I talked to lawyers already. How does it benefit the state? Again, it benefits the state because we can hold a central database on behalf of the state, so the state doesn't have to do it themselves. And the residents of the state will trust us, a third party, public benefit corporation, before they trust the state government holding the records. Okay. That's basically where we're at now. We're at the crossroads. We're ready to take the next step.
All right. What about you, Kyra?
Totally polar opposite of that.
Oh.
I got really involved in it because everybody needs funding. So, I do political fundraising, and I work with a lot of big companies and large donors that either work in the technology or are interested in it, and they want to know where to put their money and what's coming up in the future. And with that being said, that's how I got recruited on to help with a couple of PACs, and they really educated me more so on it. I was fascinated because I had few friends working, creating, and developing their own blockchain working with specific, healthcare identity, because when COVID happened, that really kind of was the starting line for everybody thinking, oh my God, we're going to need, digital passwords. We're going to need this and that. And I had all these friends, colleagues, old acquaintances come up and say, hey, we have this. I need funding for tech. Can you help us? People who are interested in this. And yes, 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 across the board. So I started connecting people and just got more into the legislation side of it, because I was very curious, with ignorance being bliss at the beginning, it was easier to sell it because not a lot of people knew about it. Now that it's, been evolving so much and people are, educated on the topic, I had to become well-versed in each state that I work in, because each donors and each blockchain is in a different state with a different set of rules. And I didn't know about that. So I kind of dove more into that. So that way I could, tell my donors, where their money is specifically going to. If you fund this state, then it's going to be easier to get this done. It's going to be a little bit more difficult in this state, etc. So I had to move forward and figure it out. And
great.
I'm still learning, and Mike is educating me every step of the way while he recruited me on all these blockchains. Now I'm in one group after another with too much information.
Yeah, the good thing is because it's like bad cop, good cop. Like I'm the bad cop, right? I'm not the guy that goes in, I want to get business done. And then, Kyra gives a soft touch to it, and Kyra goes in the room and everyone's like, oh, it's nice, pretty young girl. All right, but we'll work with you. I'm kidding. No, she's really smart. And she's great. She knows how to talk to government officials the way I can't. I like politics. I love campaigning. I travel the country doing that, but I'm not good talking to people in the government. I like the business sector better. But Kyra's really, really good at talking to PACs, government officials. So I think we complement each other in that way. And I like to hustle. And when I get somebody, hey, Kyra, she's great. Like in the sense that I'll be like, Kyra, I have to talk to somebody from the state government today at 2 p.m. You good? She's like, all right, let's go. Send me the invite. It goes in there cold.
Now, to both of you, where do you see the future of Bitcoin? Do you see a time in which Bitcoin will overtake the US dollar, in which most people in the US will start using Bitcoin as opposed to, cash currency? Do you think that day will ever come, or what do you think?
Kyra, you want to take that? You want to go first?
Well, I think I'm kind of like caught between it. I do think that, there's, especially with the metaverse that was just created, there is definitely, a way for that to happen. But then I'm kind of on the side where I think people are happy to have cash in hand and to actually see their money and know where it is as well. So I think I'm a little bit more old-fashioned with my answer in response to this. That kind of future, it does scare me about, a little bit, just because I don't know. Right. I definitely wouldn't take it off the table about happening. But I do know there are a lot of people who want to see where their money is and want to hold it in their hand and want to check their bank account and actually understand what their currency is that we've all been raised with. And, we all know. But I don't say, yes or no realistically.
Okay, Mike?
I would say I agree with Kyra. And one thing I'm going to say on that note is that if we can go the route of China, Ron and I both live in China, nobody uses, even to buy a stick of gum, people use their cell phone. If you can get people in the US to do that, even the old generation in China, people that are 80 years old using their cell phones to buy a stick of gum, restaurants, anything. You go to a restaurant in China, in Shanghai, you give the waiter, the waitress cash, they pocket it and they use their cell phone to pay for it. So if we can digitalize payments and make them common, we'll see what the future holds. But a really good point that I learned from another NYU professor was this. Okay, before we had Facebook, we had MySpace, correct? Mm-hmm. Before we had Twitter, I forgot what we had before, but there was some kind of system that was there before Twitter. So Bitcoin, we do have a currency in the future, like a digital currency that's the main currency, is definitely not going to be Bitcoin. Bitcoin was just bringing us to the next stage. We're going to have something better that's going to be easier to use. It's going to be a lot cheaper than Bitcoin transactions, a lot better to mine, easier to mine, more energy efficient. Probably Dogecoin. I'm kidding. But maybe not Dogecoin. but I mean, people laugh, but Dogecoin is actually Bitcoin, but it's a lot better. Mm-hmm. But yes, I think that we're going to have something come out that is going to be universal. But I think for now, we're going to have just these different kind of coins. For example, big announcement. The moment that we get funding, this is in our business plan. We're going to have 2 years out. We're actually going to launch our own initial coin offering with our own cryptocurrency for our systems as well. We'll be using Bitcoin, Dogecoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, and our own coin. I still have not decided what it's called, or we're going to decide it, but we will have our own coin for our systems.
Okay.
But
is that the ICO announcement that you wanted to make tonight?
Yeah. Initial coin offering, yes. It's kind of like an IPO for a company. When it goes public to get funded, and ICO is the same thing, but for basically funding a coin system,
right?
Coin network.
But Mike, to go back on your point, yeah, because Mike and I, we both studied in China for like a few years. We were both doing our masters there. I
know. I learned that on the phone this morning. I was like, "How do you know each other?" And he's like, "We were in China." I was like, "Oh God,
of course,
Mike."
Of course.
Yeah.
But in China, yeah, that is true. Everyone is using their phones to pay for whatever, right? For taxis, for water, for
everything.
Food, right? Mm-hmm. But when they use that though, that's still based off of like the RMB, right? So I mean, they're still paying with like RMB. What I'm asking is, do you see that happening in the US? Because I mean, now we can pay with Apple Pay and with Samsung Pay or like whatever Pay, but that's still
PayPal.
Yeah, but yeah, with PayPal or Venmo, right? But that's still based off of the US dollar, right?
Yes.
So my question is, do you ever see a day in which like a cryptocurrency like Bitcoin will overtake the US dollar and be the predominant form of currency?
I see it.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to be anytime soon. Usually technology is adopted. I hate saying this. When older people die, that hate the technology. And then the younger people take over and they use the technology, right? That's how I see it, at least. Kyra?
Okay. Yeah, I do. I mean, but even going back to you saying, everybody, uses their phone to pay for things. You have certain class groups that, can afford the iPhone, that still have a flip phone that, doesn't have that new technology. So there's a lot of, things that we all need to figure out.
Variables.
Mm-hmm. One last question, I'll let you guys go. And this might be a stupid question. So we know that, crypto, Bitcoin, all this is all like, it's all electric, right? I mean, it's all, digitized, right?
Yes.
So one day, if there were like a nuclear holocaust and all the grids were all shut down, would all these Bitcoins be worthless? Gone?
No, not necessarily. If you keep them online, obviously, yes. But if you keep them on a USB drive or on your own laptop or your own cell phone, like offline, you can still access them in theory.
But in the case of a nuclear holocaust where everything is like wiped out, what is your little USB going to do if you say,
I think that's even better than actual, what is cash going to do, right? I mean, I think it's even better. I mean, in our opinion, it's even better to have that kind of currency. This country's in Africa where they don't have their own currency. The government is too poor to have for their own currency, and people have used their cell phones to pay for things with the cryptocurrencies and stuff like that. With certain cryptocurrencies that are only in Africa that they've made for themselves.
Interesting. All right, guys, what a great conversation. I come into this conversation probably more confused than when I first. No, I come out of this conversation more confused than when I first came in. But as always, I learned a lot. I think I learned a little bit more about what blockchain is, and I think that's good, right? So one step at a time, baby steps.
Call Mike and he will talk to you off about
next time we're going to go into something that doesn't exist yet, Ronald. It came out a year ago. It's called Holochain.
Okay.
God,
we continued. No, I'm kidding. But it actually doesn't.
I don't even want to begin to try to decipher what that is. But anyway, Kyra, Mike, I want to thank you guys for joining me tonight on this episode of Real Talk. I mean, even though I'm still confused, I hope that my viewers are a lot smarter than me, and they got a lot from this conversation.
We'll have Kade on next time. Don't worry, so he can put our thoughts together and explain them better. He's
it might be a little bit more fluid. He'll give you the tech side.
Thank you so much for coming on tonight, and I will see you guys very soon, okay?
Thanks. Thank you for confidence. See you next time.
Bye-bye. Okay, so as I stated, I went into this conversation very confused about what this whole field is. I come out of it a little bit more enlightened, but with 10 times more questions. So from what I gathered, blockchain is a form of storage, right? It's like similar to like the cloud. except it gets encrypted and is very secure. You apparently can't hack it. It's got a lot of potential in storing the information of, of patients, of customers. And in terms of, voter IDs, the information of voters, it's also a good way for it to be stored to prevent fraud. Okay, that's what I got from blockchain. From Bitcoin, Dogecoin, and all this kind of stuff, it just seems to me like very risky business. I don't know. Maybe I'm naive and just don't know too much about this. But to me, I think I would personally be scared to invest my money in something like Dogecoin or Bitcoin, and especially since apparently it's easy to create these currencies. I mean, Mike just announced his ICO, right? His initial coin offering. So I mean, I'm sure his company is doing great work, but if it's that easy to offer this coin, then perhaps a lot of people can also do it. I don't know. So anyway, this was helpful to, I feel, people that are trying to get into this field, right? Who might have a lot of questions about what cryptocurrency, what Bitcoin, what this blockchain stuff is. So I hope that this episode was able to shed some light for those viewers, right? For me, what this episode did was that it just created more questions. But it's okay, right? More questions means that we need more answers. And in the future, we will delve into this topic, once more, right? So anyway, I want to thank you guys for joining me tonight on Real Talk with Ronnie on our Roundtable segment where we had our crypto convo. We will be back this Sunday for our political, analysis and our show. This Sunday, we will have on, I believe, Todd Calaguire, who is running for county executive in Bergen County. We will also have a gentleman from, I believe, the state of Rhode Island who is running for Congress there from Mike's state, right? Robert Lancia. He's running for Congress in Rhode Island. So we will have those two gentlemen on this Sunday to talk about their respective campaigns and what they hope to do for, well, in Todd's case, for Bergen County, and in Robert's case, in Rhode Island. So I want to thank you guys for joining me tonight for Real Talk with Ronnie. If you feel that you have a compelling story, that you have a great story to share, please contact us, all right? Please email us at realtalkwithronnie@gmail.com, okay? This is it right here, realtalkwithronnie@gmail.com, okay? All right, my name is Ronald Lynn. Very happy to be with you midweek on this Wednesday night, and I will see you all this Sunday night at 8 p.m. live. All right, guys. Hope you have a great rest of the week, and I will see you all very soon. Bye-bye.